Hello my dear friends, welcome back to another Star Wars video. So today we have some huge updates for Andor Season 2. It's just around the corner, 42 days away. And Tony Gilroy's been a very busy man, just as he did before the first season. He's been giving some fascinating interviews with several outlets, Collider, Gizmodo, you name it. And as you might expect, there have been some very juicy reveals, and today we're going to talk about them. And one of the biggest updates, as you've probably guessed from the title of this video, is that Lucasfilm is getting very desperate. Viewership is down, and they've taken a pretty radical marketing strategy. I'm here to break it all down, and it's going to be such a fun video, you don't want to miss it. I'm going to be very candid, very honest, just tell you what I think about some of what he said. And what I really love about Tony is that he's not afraid to just say things as they are. He's not trying to please the audience, be overly secretive or cryptic. He generally comes right out with it and says, look, here's what I wanted to achieve in the second season, and here's how I went about it. So there's no faffing around, no jibber jabber. I just want to cover the meat and potatoes. There's no benefit to go through every single thing he said. Many of the questions are worded for the benefit of those who've not seen the show. So I'm just going to go through the interesting stuff. Let's start with connections to Rogue One. We know there are lots of returning characters. Tony doesn't name all of them, but we know we have Krennic, K2SO. I'd like to think Mads Mikkelsen and Jimmy Smits are back. But Tony says if they matter to this story, then yes, probably we are going to see them. But more precisely, he was asked about Jyn Erso. Is Felicity Jones going to return? She's someone who's been willing to return to Star Wars for a very long time, but I don't know how they're going to do it, because prior to Rogue One, during Andor Season 2, she's already left Saw Gerrera. Unless he brings her up in a hologram, or he mentions her by name, there isn't much they can do with her. And she can't cross paths with Cassian. Those two characters don't meet until Rogue One. Felicity has suggested she appears post-Rogue One, but she's dead. She died on Scarif. Unless it's a flashback, because in canon she had a strong legacy. The Ghost crew knew about her. Even Luke, later in the timeline, finds out about her. There isn't too much they can do with Jyn. Maybe the world between worlds. But even then, that's a strange choice. So the only way I can see them doing this in Andor Season 2 is in a hologram. But when asked the question directly, here's what Tony said. Everything that we're going to bring in to get to Rogue One is going to be organic. There is nothing we're bringing in just because somebody wants to see it. It has to be germane to the story. But he didn't deny it, my dear friends. He didn't want to say no. So I do think there's a chance Jyn has a small name drop or some kind of holographic cameo. But Tony is brilliant with the way he addresses fan service. Nothing is included just for the sake of the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. Everything in the show is deliberate, it's poignant, and serves a purpose to the overall narrative. And I just want to say, guys, reading Tony Gilroy's answers to these questions, I have a feeling somehow Season 2 is going to be better than the first, just be so much more epic. The first season is considered the best thing Disney Star Wars has ever done. Somehow it feels as though Season 2 is going to be a bit more evolved. And amazingly, to everyone's surprise, Lucasfilm and Disney are finally getting the message they need to broaden their audience, appeal to a wider demographic of people, and market the heck out of these shows. For a limited time, they've put the first season on Hulu and YouTube, the Disney Plus YouTube channel. They're attempting a snowball effect, widen the audience, and garner more interest. They want as many eyeballs watching Season 2 as they can. And why not? It's the final season. Disney Plus has been bleeding subscribers, and they really need a Star Wars win. Viewership has been awful. Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Ahsoka, they need something. So I guess even if it's just a small win, it's good to see them doing something about it, although I have seen some fans not very happy about the fact they have to pay for a Disney Plus subscription, and yet they're posting the first season for free. I get it, but it's been like 3 years. And if it's going to generate some more hype, bring some Star Wars fans back in, get people caring about the franchise again, then I suppose this marketing strategy makes sense. Is it going to pay off though? We've only got Andor Season 2 and Ahsoka Season 2 left, so there will be a lot of eyeballs on the way Andor Season 2 performs when all is said and done. I don't mean to be pessimistic, I'm just trying to be a realist looking at all of the data in recent years, but I don't think this is going to generate this enormous surge of viewership and subscriptions on Disney Plus. I think the majority of the audience is going to be the Season 1 audience. The only people talking about the show, promoting it, they're already invested. They were the Season 1 audience. I'm not too sure very many new fans are going to be created from Season 2. I could be wrong. And again, I know I get criticism for saying this, But this idea that Star Wars fans are gonna rush back whenever a new show comes out isn't true anymore. That is just no longer the case. Long gone are the days where Star Wars could take its audience for granted. Not every new project is a hit, quite the opposite. And the drop-off started sometime around 2017, 2018, but sometime just after 2022, it got a whole lot worse. The drop-off was exacerbated. And like you've heard me say before, it's going to take a good Star Wars movie to start to rebuild trust between Lucasfilm and the wider fanbase, to get those butts back in seats, so to speak. The cinematic side has to triumph. This is a very good start, what they're doing with Hulu and YouTube, but I wouldn't expect Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2 figures for this, as good as I think it's gonna be. That's just my take. But returning to some more juicy reveals from Tony himself, he talks about the vital role the Gormon Massacre is gonna play in Season 2. I've broken this down in depth. I'm not gonna hammer on about it. Go and check out my breakdown of the special look and the Season 2 trailer for more information. But now Gilroy confirms the massacre is going to take place over 5 episodes, 5 of the 12. And if one arc is 3 episodes, then the Gormon Massacre, which is going to lead to Mon Mothma leaving the Senate, is going to be nearly 2 arcs worth. So this is a very important event. And you know, speaking of this very bizarre release schedule, 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks, Tony Gilroy acknowledges it's going to be very difficult for podcasters and YouTubers, such as yours truly, but come on, it's going to be a blast. We're going to have so much to talk about, so much to break down, and I think it's going to be a more satisfying journey overall. Another huge reveal I think you really need to know about is there's going to be a lot of death in this season. I know a lot of fans have tried to avoid the subject because we like to think everyone's off doing something different by the time of Rogue One if they're not in the movie. But Tony Gilroy says, if Season 2 doesn't make you cry, he'll be very disappointed. So yes, this season inevitably has tragedy, and even more sacrifice for Cassian. Not just losing Malva, but who knows, maybe Bix, maybe Brasso, maybe B2EMO, if my theory that B2 and K2 are the same person just reprogrammed doesn't come true. But in terms of tragedies, Tony says this, I think the surprising and shocking emotional punch will come from the collateral damage and triumph of everyone around him. He says, quote, Cassian is sort of Star Wars Jesus, a messianic character running through the middle of all of it. And if you were hoping after Andor Tony Gilroy's going to do something else Star Wars related, he pretty much debunks it. He says, while there is still a chance, quote, it's not really part of my plan. I've been peripherally involved for 10 years. That's a pretty big chunk of my life. But he does have another unrelated movie in the works. Nothing to do with Star Wars or space opera, nothing sci-fi, something with music. So this show is really the final bow for the Rogue One universe. But we shouldn't be sad, because Genevieve O'Reilly, Mon Mothma, is a recurring character during the New Republic, the Chancellor of the New Republic, and she's no doubt going to re-emerge in Ahsoka Season 2. One final and massive comment, this one's about K2SO. Gilroy felt immense pressure to get the meeting between Cassian and K2 right, and he didn't want to rehash the comic. He says yes, the bar is high, and apparently Disney put pressure on him to put K2SO into the first season, but he said no. The original plan was 5 seasons. When it was then reduced to 2, Disney put pressure on him to put K2 into the first season, but he refused, and they weren't happy about it. But now we're going to see the first time they do meet. It's what he describes as a meet-cute, one with surprisingly high stakes. And I love the way Tony Gilroy speaks directly to the fandom, like we're human beings, you know, not just a vague demographic he's hoping to appeal to. And he understands for some of us we have to stay up very late, but he thinks it'll be worth it. I think it will be, fingers crossed. So some very exciting updates in this video, guys. Are you looking forward to Season 2? Let me know down below. Any theories, any thoughts? And if you enjoyed this one, guys, as always, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Check me out on social media, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.